Welcome to the Action Podcast, produced by Action International Ministries. Our desire is to equip and encourage missionaries as they prepare for their time serving overseas and while they're on the field. We hope that this resource will be a blessing to you. For more information about Action, please visit us online at actioninternational.org. The topic of ministry burnout is a sensitive one, but one that must be discussed and brought to light. Many people don't realize they're heading for or even in the midst of burnout, let alone how to process it. I sat down with Jeff and Mary Ann Anderson, who serve with Action as the international coordinators for training and development, to talk through what burnout looks like and how to work through it. Jeff, Mary Ann, thank you again for stopping and taking time to talk about something, again, that we all deal with as missionaries, and those that are listening and watching, if they're preparing to leave for the field, these are valuable things still to keep in mind as they prepare to go to the mission field, and that is burnout. And particularly, we're talking about detecting and avoiding burnout, although some things can't be mitigated completely, and eradicated and avoided 100%. But through this conversation, we want to explore what it looks like to experience burnout and some things that we can do to mitigate those potential disasters that can come about by experiencing this very thing. So thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. I'd like to start by sharing a personal story where this really fits into pre-field preparation, but it's what the journey that I was on. We were accepted by Action in March of 1984, and a month later, our second child was born. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very, hormonal time, as well as all these new things with becoming missionaries happening at the same time. And a couple of months later, after our daughter was a couple months old and I was just navigating everything in the house, I began to feel very overwhelmed with the task that we had ahead of us in heading to the mission field, putting our townhouse on the market and having realtors come and viewing it and having to keep it organized with two little kids all the time, and having expectations of all the things I needed to do to fulfill and be ready and prepared. And I was exhausted, postpartum depression. All these things were like falling on me and closing in on me. And there was one morning when Jeff was getting ready to go to work, and I came down into the living room with a basket of laundry. And I think my daughter was laying on top of the clean clothes because I couldn't carry them both separate. And I put the basket on the floor and I just collapsed. Mm-hmm. And just sat there, I think, with my hands still on the laundry basket. And it's like, I can't do anything. I can't take care of my son. I can't do any of this. I was so overwhelmed and felt very paralyzed. And I didn't know what burnout was. I didn't know what was going on, but it's like I had nothing left to navigate life, to just do what I needed to do. And through the counselor that I had at the time and the help of my parents, they took care of our children for a few days. And I went through counseling, met with the counselor a few times. But one of the main things was that Jeff and I went to a place where we could sleep without being woken up in the middle of the night with a baby and mm-hmm. everything, but just really get caught up on sleep. And it took several days for me to get to a place of feeling like I can carry on. But it did leave me somewhat in a weakened state, because in the months that followed, there would be other times of just being gripped with fear or being overwhelmed with all the tasks that need to be done, all the preparation, moving. We ended up having to move 2 or 3 times before leaving for the field. The knowing that we needed the training, and Jeff leaving his job, and there's a lot of stressors in that preparation time. And I went, it was very difficult. And it went on even into after arriving on the field. I still had episodes of fear and panic and overwhelm. And I had to learn in time how to navigate those things. But it eventually led into depression. And that's not our topic today, but sometimes burnout and depression, they're like sisters.
Yeah.
They just come together, or one leads to the other. And so that lasted for several years. And it's hard to say that as a new missionary on the field, my first several years were a period of time where I was in a depression, and I didn't recognize that either. And so I know the challenge. This is why I'm so passionate about being prepared as well as we can be, having the tools that we need for overcoming depression, overcoming the areas where we need resilience, and being able to move on and move forward. And then also keep building on that in that first term when there's many adjustments. For some people, it's a much heavier emotional experience, but we all go through some level of adjustment, and it'll come out in a husband and a wife differently, and it comes out even differently in our children and differently per child. The way that we deal with that stress and that adjustment is different. We need to just be aware that it's there and be able to see it in each other and in our children, and in a team, watch for it in our teammates, so we can help them identify burnout and work on principles for avoiding it.
Yeah. So we're using this word burnout, right? Those listening and watching might, of course, by this point, you're understanding what that could be, but what do you have here for kind of a definition or something, kind of a succinct wording on what burnout is?
Well, in an article by Doctors Larry and Lois Dodds of Heartstream Resources, and they assist a lot of missionaries in that are dealing with different emotional, spiritual issues to help them get back on their feet and on the field again. They define burnout, they say it is a condition resulting from prolonged and total depletion of a person's resources, especially emotionally. The person has been used up, so they have no energy left to give. It's like what we talked about in a different episode about resilience. It's that when you're just stretched and you no longer have the resilience to come back and carry on. Yeah.
And of course, we're talking in this series, these podcast episodes, about how these things relate in missions, right? But this topic about burnout, and I think even, I dare say, other topics that we've discussed apply to anyone in any position, whether it's a secular job, whether it's a ministry position, missions. When you look at burnout, and you're describing your testimony, Marianne, about that, people can relate. I mean, and these things happened and began happening before you even left for the field.
That's right.
It was exacerbated on the field because of other stressors and language and culture and things like that in the surroundings. But it's important to note that these things happened before departing for the field. And I think that people that are listening and watching to this episode in particular that might not be going to missions even, or be on the mission field right now, they can relate. Maybe they're feeling these things. And as we talk through these things, I'm hopeful and prayerful that it could be a help to them as well. There's a statistic, Jeff, about monetary things that are affected, right? When it comes to missionaries experiencing burnout, there's a monetary value, if you will,
Sure.
And an effect, cause and effect to burnout. But beyond monetary, what are some other things that can be an effect of burnout?
Of course, relationships
Yeah.
on the field, right? With your teammates or the church that we are where we're worshiping.
Yeah.
Our testimony, our outreach, the gospel going forward, discipling others. It, of course, it spills back to home, right? The home church, the sending church,
That's right.
the supporters. I mean, it just goes, it's like a ripple effect, right? It just gets wider and wider and, more and more of an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to put a dollar sign on that, right?
That's right.
But you're getting at the relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
So it begs the question then, how do you know you're experiencing burnout? And some people might just say, well, it's just something I've dealt with and I just need to deal with it. But I think it's important to identify and define what's the root, right? What's the cause of this? And then you can begin creating a plan and really praying specifically through what those root causes could be, and what are some things and areas you need to do, and what steps do you need to take, or where to get help. But what are some things that you would say you could list off for us, just a few that you would say, okay, this is how you know you're experiencing burnout?
Well, the first one that comes to my mind is we pack our schedules. I mean, whether we do that at home or we do that on the field, but we pack our schedules so tightly that there's very little wiggle room, and we're just go, go, go. We need to learn to just build some rest time in there, some relaxation time.
Yeah.
And that's really tough for missionaries. We have this expectation that we need to be out there working all the time.
Right.
But I have learned through the course of, I hopefully maturing and, years, that we just really need to be careful that we take time to rest, to sleep, to recreate, to eat well, like that.
Yeah. So packing your schedule, leaving no room for that.
Yep. Sleep is a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's right.
Oh, boy. I used to, get up really, really early and go to bed later at night. And, we just need to be able to sleep well. And that is hard for some of us, right? But we need to, ask the Lord for help there.
Yeah. Those things can build, right? Lack of sleep, might be able to deal with it for a period of time, but give it enough sleepless nights or interrupted nights sleep.
And we lived in Manila for years, and Manila is it's a rock and roll city. That's how I describe it. I mean, it's 24/7, right? Like many mega cities of the world.
Yeah.
There's constant commotion and noise.
Right.
Well, we had to learn to shut that out. But whatever that means and however we do that, but we have to have that time where we can actually sleep.
And what other things do you have that could be signs of experiencing burnout?
Well, work. Ministry, right? We need to enjoy our work. Hopefully we enjoy our work.
Sure.
I do.
Yeah.
But there are times when work is simply work and you got to grind it out. And I know that's life, right?
Yeah.
Got to show up.
Yeah.
Whether we feel like it or not. But there are times, there's that edge there where, it's just, I don't know if I can continue. I just don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
Or I just can't perform. I can't get the job done. Well, that's where we need to be talking to somebody on the team or our leader on the team and somebody.
Yeah.
We need to be talking about that.
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say that there are these little things, these little steps that happen. The cliff, if you will, of burnout is far and it's devastating.
Yep.
But leading up to that cliff are little things, right? Yeah. We sweep them under the rug. We don't work through them. We don't pray through them, or we just try to ignore them and say, well, that's just because of my ministry and it's okay. And I just need to deal with it. But after a while with that attitude, you realize, man, I'm going off this cliff, and you need to work backwards and say, how do I work through those things that have become these small steps?
Well, we may not even know where that cliff is. We may not even know that we're headed there.
Right.
And that's where we need the transparency and the, working with a team, and they're observing. We need to help. But the point is, we need to help one another.
Yeah.
If we're seeing somebody or somebody is seeing in us that, you're headed to something here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that and let's try to work on that.
And you guys also talk a lot about expectations, right?
Yep.
And
Right.
so what would the role of expectations be in this discussion of burnout?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to look at expectations. One is what we expect of others, what we expect of ourselves, and what we expect of God. So we maybe expect that we're going to be received a certain way when we arrive in the country, or we expect that our spouse or our children are going to behave a certain way. We expect, I was told your kids are going to learn language easier than you do. So that was an expectation. We expect our church is going to stay in touch with us regularly. And we expect that God's going to protect us and that He's not going to allow any harm. We expect that things are going to be, go smooth because we're being obedient. We're doing what we need to do. So I expect it's going to be like this. There's also another kind of expectation and it's either real or it's perceived. And you can kind of discern which one it is. But the expectation that other people have on us. So we may feel they're thinking, you have to work this many hours.
Yep.
You haven't done enough. You need to keep, it's too early to quit. You can't go take a rest. Look I'm working hard.
Right.
You need to work hard.
Right.
And you're not working hard enough. Or that you're going to adjust. It's like, you've been here long enough. You shouldn't be still in this stage of adjusting.
Right.
You should be there by now. You should. So some of those expectations, people can actually say it to us and we know that they expect it.
Right.
But others, we just feel this, what is leadership going to think about me and am I meeting their expectations? And,
Right.
and I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not, I'm failing. And that's a perception that we
Sure.
have.
That's that self-talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, when I look at the call to missions, it's an individual call, right? And because it's an individual call that God puts on us individually, we are all different in how we do missions.
Yes.
Not just in our roles on the field, but in those expectations.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of times it's perceived things we put on ourselves because we're comparing. We're looking at
Right.
other missionaries. Oh, these people have been on the field for 30 plus years, like
Right.
yourselves. 33 years in the field. I was only there for 13. I had to go through that period of feeling like I failed. I didn't last as long. I left because of this pandemic that happened, and I didn't return. And I had to confront those things and deal with that.
Yeah.
But those were perceived things. No one ever told me that I failed. You guys certainly didn't. No one told me you should have lasted longer on the field. You should have been there and not left and quit. It was something I put on myself. Right. And so we have to be careful about comparing and about those perceived things. We ask these what if questions.
Right.
Those are dangerous. And those are things that contribute to burnout needlessly. We don't need, there's other things that are affecting burnout in each of us without putting more things onto it that we put on ourselves. But because missions is an individual call, we need to also be individualistic in how we respond to where God has us and how long He has us there.
Well, another thought that comes to my mind is judging someone else on how the Lord is leading them, right? I mean, it's just our tendency to compare.
Sure.
It's the natural thing, right?
Yeah.
And then to judge another one as they're making their decisions. Well, I need to leave or I need to do. there's no place for that.
That's right.
I mean, there's a conversation with field leadership. Of course
Sure.
there is. And leadership back home. Yes. But it's not my place to be, well, come on, Ad, what's up with you?
Right.
Buck up, man.
Right. Yeah.
They can't, that's just not helpful.
Yeah. We have no idea what people are going through. We're not walking in their shoes. We see the external of what they're going through, but their heart.
Yeah.
We don't see their heart. We don't see those intimate moments where they're at home and they're struggling. They're having those depression moments,
Right.
The anxiety,
Yes.
the panic attacks. We might not see those things.
Yep.
So
Right.
yeah, that's very important, Jeff, to recognize, not to judge. We don't know what people are going through.
Right.
Be sensitive to that.
Well, another thought that comes to my mind is writing a prayer letter, writing a newsletter, right?
Yeah.
How do I say this? To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
right? We think that we imagine that people want to hear how many people got saved, how many street kids, how many kids are being fed, etc. Well, what if that's not what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
How do we write it when in my mind I'm imagining that's what I'm getting paid for, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I need to earn my keep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a trap that is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And along that line, when we were in language school, so we'd only been there maybe 6 months or something, and learning language is painful, but it is so important, and you never regret the time you invest in it.
Yeah.
But we were, and one of the things about learning the language when you're in your neighborhood and everything, they don't know English, so that's the best way to learn it, when you're really immersed in the language. We read the newsletter of another missionary who was working with wealthy people, and they had been on the field about 6 months longer than us, and their newsletter was about how many people they were reaching and all the things that were happening. And they made this statement: unlike other people who have been here a long time and are not seeing the fruit. It was so deflating to us when we read that, because that person was not going through language learning. They were working at a level, and I don't judge what they were doing in any way in their context and what they were called to do. Skipping language was probably not as important as it was to us working with street kids.
Yeah.
But the comparing statement, those kinds of things can be quite discouraging, because when you're working on language, you can only talk like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And you think,
That's right.
I'm a smart person. I
Right.
think I'm smart. And, I know stuff, but I can't say anything other than, hello, how are you?
Right.
Where are you going? What are you doing?
Yep. Where's the bathroom?
Do you want,
Yes.
do you want to buy this?
Yeah.
And language just takes time, perseverance, and it's one of those areas where we can get discouraged.
Yeah.
But I just want to emphasize, before we get too far into this, how important it is to remember, as we're walking near that edge and we learn to identify the signs,
Yep.
there is hope.
Yeah.
Even if we've gone over the edge and reached a point of actual burnout where we need professional help to help us restore.
That's right.
There is hope. And no matter what someone is going through, pre-burnout, total burnout, wherever in between, no matter if it's necessary to leave the field, because that does happen.
Yeah.
It's not failure. It's a need for restoration.
Yeah.
And there is hope.
Yes.
And so we don't want to ever imply that if you get to that level, then you're done.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. There is hope. So, okay, now digging deeper, right? We listed off some things that could be potential small steps that lead to that bigger moment of burnout and that drop off the cliff. But burnout, it's a process that begins, you say, and is fostered by a lack of health in some area. And you have listed here the physical, emotional, spiritual, relational, and work.
Yep.
Let's walk through those, because some people that are listening or watching to this might be experiencing, well, maybe all of these things, but it could be just a combination of these.
Yeah.
But it's good to walk through and identify the different areas that maybe we could be feeling this topic of burnout. So let's walk through. The first one you have is physical.
Yeah, work, right? So I'm thinking of work right off the top. We need, well, I'll just say it. We need to be able to say no. There are things we say yes to that we can do, that we enjoy. Now, it's not a matter of we have to enjoy every aspect of our work.
Sure.
But there are things we can say yes to, things we need to say no to. We can't keep piling on stuff to the place that I can't do it. So we need to be aware of that and work with our leadership,
Sure.
work with our teammates to help discern and figure that out, that workload issue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm one to say, yeah, just pile it on. I can do this.
Yeah.
I can keep trucking along. I can grind it out. Well, not really, not for very long.
Right.
So there's a capacity load there.
Yeah.
Another one is proper nourishment. You know, I'm not a nutritionist and all of that, but you know, we just need to learn to eat right. Okay, and I know that's easier said than done, but that's a biggie. And of course, just taking care of our physical health, getting some exercise.
Yeah.
I was a hardcore exerciser
Yes,
for
you
a
were.
long. Well, I went overboard. Okay, so I'd like to have some redos on that, but I can't.
Yeah.
But I still like to exercise. It helps me de-stress and think and pray, and so whatever it is that we need that works for us.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that helps us de-stress, to unload what's on our mind, to have a conversation with the Lord,
Yeah.
figure it out. Do it.
Yeah.
What else can I say? Sleep. We talked about sleep earlier, right? We don't need to go into that a lot, but you know, we just need to get the sleep. And again, that's easier, especially at my age now. Okay, I just have conversations with people. Whatever configuration we need to have in our bedroom or whatever our apartment or place is.
Yeah.
But find a place where we can actually sleep and rest well.
Yeah.
Get the sleep that we need.
Yeah.
We have a thing, it's kind of like we think, oh, sleep is overrated. It's not. So we need to be smart about that stuff.
Yeah. I think one thing that we struggled with, that we had to overcome, and this is something we put on ourselves, is to whether or not to install an air conditioning unit
that's a biggie.
in our bedroom.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, sleep is so important. And if you're not rested well, and now I got to get up and I got to go out, and I'm speaking in a different language.
Yep.
I'm working with people
Yes.
from a different culture. And an hour or two of doing that, and speaking a different language for an hour or two in your brain, you become mentally exhausted, you're emotionally exhausted, physically tired. If you're not sleeping well, then that's all affected. So we had to say, you know what? We're going to put an air conditioning unit in our bedroom so we can sleep well.
Yeah,
it's 110 degrees with 100% humidity in Manila.
Yes.
We need to sleep well.
Yes.
And the other fact of the matter and the reality is, you open your windows, there's dust, there's pollution, there's smog.
Yeah.
My
And
wife has
noise.
asthma
Yeah.
and noise. So you have to take stock of those things.
Yeah.
And again, individually, you say, we're okay with this and we need to do this to be effective in what God has called us to do. The other thing I think of in terms of physical, things that contribute physically to burnout is sicknesses.
For sure.
You're going to experience sicknesses while on the field. You experience sicknesses anywhere in the world, even when you're at home. But when you're on the field and you experience sicknesses that maybe you don't have, yellow fever, typhoid, malaria, dengue fever, things that we experience as missionaries on the field that we don't have per se in the U.S. or wherever we're from, our home country, those things can contribute to that physical piling up of that burnout.
And if we're run down physically.
exactly.
For the other reasons we've already talked about.
Yeah.
We're more prone to get sick.
Yes.
You know, something to think about along this line is how in Israel and in the Jewish culture, their their day started at the evening, and so they rested before they worked according to their day, and so their day starts with the evening meal and the rest, and then they work, and then they rest, and sometimes we think we have to work to earn the rest. We can't take a vacation because we have to work. We have to get these jobs done, these tasks done, and then take a vacation, then take a rest. And I think sometimes we need to reverse that and think in terms of, I need a vacation to rest in order to invest in, to have the strength. Just like what you're saying, if you've slept well in a room where the conditions are suitable for sleeping well, then you get up in the morning and you go through a difficult day, you at least have that rest. So it's a mentality. We talked about that years ago, and we chose to not have an air conditioner. And as I think back on it, I think that might not have been so noble. Our rationale was, we need to just stay accustomed to the heat so that we can go in and out. We're not feeling like I always have to stay inside in the air conditioning.
Right.
And so that was our rationale at the time. But I think we would have slept better, especially at times when we lived in a very, very noisy neighborhood where there were alarms and
a lot of commotion.
trucks and
sirens,
people hollering out in the street and whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did not. There was a season where we did not sleep well, and I don't think we were as efficient as we could have been for that.
Yeah.
So that's a redo I would do. Is it was expensive, as you know. Running an air conditioner was expensive there, but if it increases your effectiveness and longevity.
Well, that's the thing, right? We're talking about detecting and avoiding burnout in this conversation, but we're also talking through these things because we want to be effective. We want to be effective as we serve and minister, not just to avoid something, but to be effective in something.
Yes.
So that's really important. So that's physical. What about emotional?
We can often, as I talked about expectations, we can just feel the pressure that we perceive that people expect on us, and it wears us down emotionally.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I have to perform, and yet I am draining. And I would there'd be times when I would just feel that draining. And just as a side note, I learned in that noisy apartment that was hot and noisy, I learned to put on headphones and listen to music that speaks to my soul. It just ministered to me, and I would sit there, with my eyes closed and the headphones on, block out everything, and I would weep. And I do this sometimes on the airplane because trips often mean I've left something. I've left someone, or I'm going into something that's difficult. And it's like there's this time of weeping, of being saturated with music that really ministers. And then there's like a switch, and I take it off and I am fine. It's like it does for me what a night of sleep might do. And I think we all have something that will restore us emotionally. I liked sitting on the beach. Just if it's not a beach that's crowded and, just watching water, the waves of the water would be something very soothing. So I think we all have the thing that will really minister to us. It might be painting. It might be something that's an activity that can restore our emotions. And we can also be very inclined to negative self-talk. I know I went through, during that period of time when I went through that depression, I had this record in my head.
Mm-hmm.
The record was saying, and I picture it as a record. You can't do anything right. You are a failure. You are not a good missionary. You are not a good mother.
Yeah.
You are not a good wife. You can't do anything right. And this record would just go and go. And for one thing, in that period of time, we got a computer, which was kind of before other people did because I was doing publishing. I poured myself into the computer in learning it and doing publishing because it's the only thing I thought I could do right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this, it was a very dark season. But the way that I stopped that record was by admitting scripture.
Mm-hmm.
All have sinned and come short of the glory of God, and I'm included in that.
Yeah.
I have sinned. I would be a failure apart from the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what Jesus did for me. He came and he redeemed me and he restored me and he forgave me, and I have new hope. And I had to play every time that old record came, I had to play the new record.
Yep.
And stop it.
Yeah.
Stop that. So that negative self-talk
Yeah,
can
that's
destroy
huge.
us. And then just being isolated. I mean, there's many things emotionally that we could talk about.
Yeah.
But isolation, expectations, feeling like we're a failure. And I don't want to ever say anyone has failed or is a failure. That just is not true.
Yeah.
But we perceive it. We think it. We think, well, I was. That's what I was. That's what my record was telling me.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, the enemy wants to attack us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the enemy uses many different ways and avenues to do that. But when you were just saying the feeling of being isolated, I think of when a pack of wolves go after, a herd of whatever kind of animal that they're trying to attack. They try to go after the weak ones, right? The ones that are on the outside.
Yes.
So if you've been weakened physically,
Yes.
and we just talked about physical.
Yep.
Now you're already on the outskirts, right?
Yep.
You're already, feeling weak, and the enemy comes in and starts to attack your mind. Starts to attack those thoughts and put those negative thoughts in your mind and starts to isolate you. Now you're feeling really on the outskirts of things and you feel like you're all alone. So now these things are just, again, okay, I say small steps, but each one is a big step. But there's steps to going off that cliff, but this is all building now. And I think it's safe to say that this is dangerous. And we need to recognize that these are serious things. We don't want to ignore these things, in any of these categories. So what about spiritual? This is a big one. Spiritual feelings of burnout. What are some things that can contribute
Well,
in
we
that
can't
way?
earn God's grace.
Yeah.
Okay. Grace is a gift.
Yeah.
Salvation is a gift. Walking in harmony or in step with the Spirit, of course, we have to have the desire to do that, and as the Lord is building and developing character in us. But to think that I have to work harder, and then I have to double that up and work harder, so God will be okay with me.
Yeah.
What a trap. So I can testify to Marianne. She's a woman of the Word.
Yeah.
We have to combat the lies, the deceptions of the evil one. And sometimes people can make comments, they're they may not be unintentional, right? But because we're vulnerable, or maybe they have made a comment that hurts.
Yep.
Or that digs. Well, how do I say this? We just have to, no, I'm okay. I'm okay with the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
However, if there's sin, unconfessed sin, there's an offense. We know what Matthew teaches in the Gospel of Matthew, what Jesus teaches. If I am offended by somebody, or I realize that someone is offended with me, what are we supposed to do? Yeah. Go get it right.
Yep.
Deal with it, man.
Yeah, that's good.
Because that stuff just festers and festers, and becomes bitterness, right?
That's
Hebrews
right.
talks about that.
Yeah.
and it just gets deeper and deeper and spreads, and that is a reality. So keeping a short account.
Yeah.
We can do that. Well, it's easier said than done. We just have to be aware of the dynamics of our marriage, our family, our teammates.
That's right.
The brethren on the nationals, if I can use that phrase.
Yeah.
We have to just keep that short account and be sure that we're walking in fellowship with, or walking in the light. We talked about that in another episode. We're walking in the light of fellowship and in the light with the Lord and with others.
Yeah. You talked about bitterness and anger in the Tagalog Filipino language. The word for bitterness is magtanim ng galit, right? Planting anger.
Yes.
And that's so deep, right? I mean, literally, but like so deep.
Yep.
But again, learning language, you learn culture.
Yep.
But that helped me so much to realize where my bitterness is coming from. It's because I'm planting anger towards somebody because of comments that people have made. And it goes into my heart.
Yep.
And now it's affecting me spiritually.
Yep.
Now I'm now turning that bitterness and anger towards God, and I'm here serving you. I'm here serving you, God. Why are you allowing this to happen? And what's going on and all these things? But it's the sin. It's sin. So this idea of spiritually feeling those feelings of burnout, those are deep things. I mean, the physical, the emotional, but then the spiritual side. And again, I'll say it again to emphasize it. The enemy wants to take and destroy everything that's good, everything of the Lord's, and take us out. He wants to take us out. And as we work for the Lord overseas on the mission field where he has us placed, we're working for the kingdom of God. We're responsible for these souls of men by God's grace that he's entrusted to our care.
Yep.
Well, the enemy's like, no way.
Yep.
Absolutely not. He wants to get in there and to take that away. That spiritual attack is so real.
It is.
It's so real. And a whole nother conversation and episode is on spiritual warfare that we need to have at some point. And, our international director, Thomas Smoke, loves speaking on that topic.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's near and dear to his heart.
Yep.
But that's something that we need to identify as well, these spiritual attacks.
That's right.
What about relational? I mean, you touched on, working with a team and things like that. What are some things relationally that contribute to burnout?
Well, I get concerned about becoming isolated.
Yeah.
Okay, we may not be. Okay, for example, someone may not be on a team, but they stay isolated from the nationals. They stay isolated from others that are on the field on our team. We may not be actually working with them, but not going to team meetings, not going to prayer meetings, not going to fellowship activities. Or somebody may be actually working on a team, closely with the team, but there's a lack of transparency.
Yeah.
There's holding things close to the chest. I'm not going to share this. I'm not saying you share everything. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's that idea of fellowship. It's the idea of, we're in this together. Let's help one another.
Yeah.
So it's being isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Marianne, about relationally with burnout?
Well, I think when, Jeff really covered it well, but the idea that we don't resolve things with people. So if there's a conflict and we choose to just allow the conflict to sit there,
Yeah.
and we don't approach the topic, that's an issue in itself. But then the gradual isolation and separation from that person, I don't want to be around them anymore. I don't want to see them, and you can't minister to them, and they can't really reach you because you've built this barrier. So it's really important if we see in ourselves resisting people, or I just want to be alone, or I'm going to just watch church on TV. There's a time for that when we're ill, when the weather is bad, we can't get out. But if it's our heart attitude.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to stay home. I don't want to be around those people.
Mm-hmm.
We begin to emotionally, relationally become isolated, and that is a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about that before, but the not clearing up an offense, or being in relationships, this is on the other side of the coin, that emotionally drain us.
Yep.
They're not healthy.
Yeah.
There's someone that just continually pulls us down, can bring us to that place of it can contribute to depression, to burnout. So there are times when there's certain people where we limit our amount of time with them, or we engage in relationship with them having spent a lot of time in prayer and being ready to approach that.
Yeah.
So there's, if we don't have anyone to play with or to hang out with or share common interests, we do have some of our members are in very isolated places.
Yeah.
That's the nature of missions. It's they didn't choose to go where there's a lot of others because God led them to a place. So it's a bit more challenging for them to work on this part.
Yeah.
But that a way to address, that emotional or that relational element is to do things that are a little more entertaining with other people, things you both enjoy and can relate.
Right.
But if you're pulling back, if you're withdrawing, you're closing in, those are the warnings.
Yeah.
I think that's the point right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I look at the relational side of burnout and what that looks like, I think that it also starts in the pre-field training part where you, and in terms of expectation, some fields, like you said, Marianne, you're going to go and work not with a team, but there's going to be maybe just you or one other person. But you need to have that knowledge ahead of time that the field that you're going to doesn't have a team, doesn't have a large team, because some people end up going to a field and a location where they're expecting to be a part of a team, to be a part of this big group, and they meet every week. And here's this extrovert like myself that's going off, say, to a place, and I'm expecting to be a part of a team, and I'm recharged around people.
Yeah.
And I get to this field that I didn't do my due diligence in researching what that looks like.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I land and I'm not a part of a team. I'm not surrounded by a bunch of other missionary workers, ministry workers. I'm alone. And then conversely, if you're someone who is driven by kind of working alone and not being a huge part of a team, and you go to a location where the expectation on you is you're at every prayer meeting, every gathering, every retreat, everything, that could be a little overwhelming.
Sure.
I think those things are important when you're on the field, to have those community things that I just listed. We don't want to totally isolate ourselves, but ahead of time to have that conversation. If you are someone who's an introvert and that's not where you recharge, to have that conversation ahead of time with that field director, with the team that's already on the field, and letting them know, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm coming from. Because eventually their expectation of you and your involvement and level of involvement could fester and become a point of just feeling like you're not able to live up to that and to do those things. And we don't want that to happen. So communication, pre-field communication with the place that you're going to, with that team, with that director, I think is really huge.
Well, this. That's why orientation is so important, pre-field. And then when they arrive where they're going to serve, there's orientation, there's a reception, there's an orientation to how, because the sending office and the receiving office, the fields, the teams are different.
Yeah.
So that what you're talking about is a big one.
Yeah.
And I think with that is is really self-awareness. That you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know what you need.
Right.
Because I think you're making a really good point that if you're rejuvenated with being with people, and then you're on a team where they don't get together, they don't do those things, that can contribute to your isolation and burnout.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a person and your team or your environment is like, you're always expected to be at everything and out there in the public all the time, then you get exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I've been on a trip with high contact with people over an extended period of time, I'm fine during that period of time. But when I get home, I do spend like almost a week. My neighbors wonder where I am, because I drained out there and I need to rejuvenate.
Yeah.
And I've explained that to some of my neighbors, and they really understand.
Yeah.
They respect that in me, but I've helped them understand it. But the important thing is that I understand it. I know what I need. And
I know what you need.
Yeah. That's right.
We had to figure that out.
Yeah.
Well,
and you know what I need. So I mean,
that's working in relationship with one another.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a huge help.
And that maybe goes back to expectation. That I don't expect him to have the same needs, or, to do things my way. He doesn't expect that of me, because we understand we're different people.
Yeah. And you operate differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true even on the mission field, right?
Right.
We operate differently.
Mm-hmm.
We have stressors in different places.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier, even the kids. So we learn to understand where those stress points are, and we're going to respond and react differently. And, give people space.
Yeah.
Work it out.
Yeah.
Lots of grace.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Now, moving to the last one here, you have work. This is so huge, and it's so multifaceted. When you're on the mission field, you talked about the expectation of maybe that you've just kind of put on yourself, and I have as well, or maybe supporting churches or supporters have made comments, and you feel like, oh, I need to perform. I need to, there needs to be numbers and results here. But in terms of work, how does that contribute? What are some things that contribute to burnout in our work?
Well, the first thing, again, that comes to my mind is I am a child of God. I am fully accepted. I am adopted into his family. That was something I knew that in my head, but I had to get it down here. I had to realize that I don't have to perform for my Heavenly Father.
Yeah.
I mean, so when it comes to work, I have to work, right? I have I have a job description. There are things I need to actually do. That's why I'm there. But when it comes to my relationship with the Lord, I don't earn my keep with him. I'm fully adopted, fully accepted.
Yeah.
So by the help of the Spirit, through the Scriptures, when that became settled in my heart, it was like, I'm okay. I'm okay with God. He's okay with me.
Yeah.
Now, as far as workload, I mean, we said that a little bit ago. I figure out where my sweet spot is, what I can do well, what I can't do well. Okay, we all have strengths, we have weaknesses, we have gifts, we have skills, etc. And I think that's a big part of the role of a field director. Okay, field director. So the receiving field and the field director, the team leader.
Yeah.
Here's a new guy on the field, a new family. They need to become settled in and help them settle in.
Right.
Then when it comes to language or a job or ministry role, well, I think it's the role of the director. This is me now. Okay?
Sure.
It's my role to help that individual or that family, whatever it is, to find their fit. So each team has their program, right? Their plan, right?
Yep.
But help that new missionary find their place, their fit on the team. That's why I was saying yesterday in another episode that, money is important, planning is important, but our most valuable asset are our people.
Yeah.
And they need to be led, they need to be directed, if you will, but also shepherded. And a big part of that is helping them find their fit in the ministry.
Yeah. You also have listed here no stimulus, no growth, no meaning, no overarching purpose. What does that look like as you've seen in your time on the field in missions? What does that look like?
Well, these are some of the symptoms of heading toward burnout.
Yeah.
When you've lost your joy in your work, when getting up in the morning to go out to whatever it is used to be enthralling and you're excited to do it, but you get to this place where you can barely drag yourself to do what you're supposed to do. And work becomes a burden. And, or work becomes the thing that allows you to avoid what you don't want to face.
Yep.
Workaholics can face this where, I don't want to deal with these things over here, so I'll just keep working. I'm going to stay working late. I mean, some people love work and they have to remember there's a time to shut off and go home and whatever. So that's a different thing than the one who is working to avoid confrontation or other things.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a place of balance, and you need something to look forward to in work. So this might be as simple as you just need a bit of a change of what you're doing and something that's going to stimulate you again. And so it could be a minor adjustment that needs to be made, or it's a sign toward burnout.
Yeah.
Well, one of my prayers, and Marianne and our prayer is, we want to keep growing. We don't want to become, the same old. Okay. We want to keep, even at our age, we want to keep pushing forward by the help of God, by the Scriptures, by the Spirit, and growing. And we don't want to become sidelined.
Yeah.
So again, it's on the field or on furlough or whatever or we're in process of going to the field. Keep growing, keep learning, so we're big advocates on lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we've been to school and all that formal education. Great. But just that's my point. Keep growing in the Lord and keep learning new things.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to end without talking about and talking through some hopeful things, right? And that is planning for just renewal, having those times of healthy maintenance, things that we can do practically. So I want to talk about that in part 2 and just go through that, but I want to take time to do that. So we'll wrap up this part 1 of our discussion of identifying and detecting burnout. And part 2, I want to talk about making a plan. What does it look like to develop a plan, to have renewal, to, as you said, Marianne, earlier, that there's never a point where it's too far, that you've gone too far. There's always hope. So let's talk about that in part 2.
Okay, great.